Here we go. I can't help but, just dance a little bit, and nobody wants that, but here we go. Here we go. Super excited to be here. Crazy, crazy as they are, they have let me come back and do yet another containers from the couch. I sometimes go back and forth between containers on the couch and from the couch, but I get the main things, container and couch. And here we are. There's the couch. And on the couch with me today is Mr. Ollie Pomeroy. Ollie, tell him who you are.
Hey, yes. Regular person on containers from the couch. My name is Ollie Pomeroy. I'm a specialist solution architect here at AWS. So I help folks with our container services, specifically Amazon ECS and AWS Fargate.
So here's the truth, and obviously you're on here more than I am, so maybe I should tell you who I am. My name is Eric Johnson. I also work for AWS. I am a developer advocate for serverless. You're like, what? What are you doing on containers from the couch? Containers on the couch? These containers near the couch? The reason I'm here is because I do a lot of ECS now too, and I have a lot of fun with it. And anytime I talk ECS or I'm going to present ECS, I always make Ollie come with me because Ollie is the expert. He's my gut check. So I will say, you'll watch me too. I'll say random things. I'm like, yeah, ECS containers can fly, right, Ollie? And then if he smiles and nods his head, I'll be like, yeah, see, or if he shakes his head, I'll be like, it's just joking. But Ollie's the expert. I'm what you call eye candy on the show. Some may or may not agree with that. So super excited for this show. This is kind of a long time coming. Ollie, I'm gonna be quiet and let you tell them what we're gonna talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. So today's a super exciting episode for us. Last week we had a really big launch in and around New York Summit, and that was that we've now support natively blue-green deployments inside of Amazon ECS. And so, like previously, if you wanted to release software on ECS, as in update your service, there's lots of different ways that you can do it, but you start to have to bring in external tools. And what we're excited about now is that we're removing the need for some of those external tools and doing a lot more inside of ECS itself.
But I think what we're done here, because it's not that nobody has done. It's not that I like to talk in double negatives when I can. It's not that not nobody. It isn't that no. I can't figure out how to say that now. They pay me to speak here at Amazon. It's kind of scary. But it isn't that nobody is doing that. I can't get by that. It's stuck. That they're not doing blue green now. But it's kind of complicated, right? Or it has been up until now. We've made it pretty easy.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can do blue-green deployments today on Amazon ECS, and you do that by our integration into the code deploy tools and the code deploy services. Now, that's great. It's a really nice integration. It's one of the value props of ECS is that it integrates in lots of different AWS services, and our hooks into code deploy show that off. But customers have been asking us, can we simplify things? Like I don't want to have to learn two different sets of APIs. How to define a workload in ECS and how to define a workload in code deploy. Like give me one place to define the workload with deep integrations into all of the other ECS features. And that's what we have here today.
Yeah, and it provides a standard. I'm going to do it the same way each time now, because I know when you got a home grow a tool, it's never the same. I'll have 10 projects and 10 different ways of doing it, and I keep telling myself I'm going to go back to the first one and change it. But we've created this consistent way of kind of doing that, and so I'm going to bring your slides up. Is that all right? So start working through those. Okay,
yeah.
Alrighty. Yeah. So because I want you to kind of talk through. So when we first think blue-green, sometimes I was telling Ollie this, sometimes conceptually be like, yeah, I know what blue-green is. But then it's like, but do I understand what that is? So Ollie's going to kind of explain this out to us along with some other things. I interrupted you. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to apologize. I remember when I first started doing containers from the couch, I was strictly told no slides. Don't come on here and give me the PowerPoint. It's demo or bust. And so I begged Eric this afternoon and said, look, give me 5 minutes to do some slides before we get into the demos.
So that's the caveat. It's 5 minutes. I've started my timer 4 minutes ago. So he has just a little bit of time left. No, but yeah, I think the information we've got in here is really important. But I promise you, hang in there. We're going to get to actual code because that's what we do on containers from the on the couch. So, all right.
Yeah.
Go for
it. So those that are new to ECS or those that are pretty experienced with it, you may have come across this concept of a deployment controller. And this is a part of ECS that decides how new software is released. And so right now we have 3 different deployment controllers in ECS. We have an inbuilt one, literally called ECS. We have the code deploy integration. We talked about that a minute ago, where we integrate with the AWS code deploy tools. And then we have an external deployment controller. And this is where customers can really choose and customize exactly how software is released. They decide exactly when the new versions are spun up, when the old versions are spun down. They get a lot of granular control there, but it's on them to do it. And what we're talking about and what we announced last week on the 17th is that we now have blue-green in that inbuilt controller. And if you're kind of wondering, well, what is blue-green? So when I'm referring to the word blue, I'm referring to like the production software, the production release. So in this simple diagram, I have blue, which is a number of ECS tasks that sat behind a load balancer. And on AWS, when you use load balancers, you have to put your targets into target groups. So here you can see that you have a load balancer pointing to a target group with our blue tasks. And this is our production workload. With green, we then want to release a new version of software. So we spin up some green tasks. And this is general blue-green deployments. This isn't nothing to do with ECS. This is just the blue-green methodology. Yeah. This is just the higher level methodology of blue-green.
Right.
And what you're then able to do is you're then able to decide or choose how and when the traffic shifts between blue, the production, and green, the new version. And maybe you want to send some test traffic to green first before you send the production, or maybe you just want to send all of it over there at the same time. But because you have both versions running, you have lots of control on how this works. And if for whatever reason green isn't working out for you, you've found a bug, something's not quite right, you can flip back to blue straight away. Like, because it is running in parallel with green, it's now really easy and safely to flip between the versions, to deploy and then roll back if you need to.
And this is, and I'm going to say some real obvious stuff, and Ollie might roll his eyes at me, and that's fair, but that's not an uncommon thing for us. But this is all done behind the domain name and the IP, right? So it's not, and way back maybe, but you don't have to switch over to another load balancer or switch over, change IPs or run interchanges code. This is all done behind that. And where's it done at? I guess is the question.
Yeah. So you're right. This is all done seamless. No, absolutely. This is all done seamless to the customer, to the client, to the user. This is done behind the load balancer. So yeah, right. As Eric said, you don't have to change load balancers, IPs, host names. And in the context of ECS, in the context of AWS, this is all done between flipping traffic between different target groups. We have a target group with production. We have a target group with the new revision, and we're just flipping between the two. And it's in the context of what we announced last week, it is now ECS that is putting the tasks in the new target group and is talking to the load balancer and flipping the traffic between the two.
All right.
One thing, obviously, when you're happy with this, when green's good, blue goes away, and in theory, green is now the new blue. Green is promoted, right? It is the now production state ready for the next thing to come along.
Do you have an animation where this turns blue?
That is way beyond my PowerPoint skills.
That is a huge miss. I'm just throwing this out there. That is a big miss, because that would be cool if you're like, and now green is blue. And kind of all kidding aside, but still kidding. So Ollie had asked me, and a while back, I was going to make a video for this actually, and release last week and stuff. The video's in production right now. It's being worked on. We just had some delays and stuff. But I remember thinking, does it matter blue, green? Could it be green replacing or blue replacing green? But that's the standard, right? Blue is the running that's the old or solid infrastructure, not infrastructure, but code. And then green is the new one. So, because I'm green, we use that term all the time. And then once blue goes away, green becomes blue, and then you could do another one with another green one.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Got it. You really need to get that. Let's meet after this for an hour. We'll woodshed that whole animation from green to blue. It's not important here, but we can do that. So
I mean, it took me 2 hours to get those arrows to move side to side. So hope you got time in your calendar.
I don't really think you should have said that publicly, but go ahead. That's all right. Do your thing.
Awesome. So a few more on the context of what we announced. So last week, it is now natively that ECS can do these blue-green deployments. It works with workloads not just behind a load balancer, so application load balancers and network load balancers. It also works with Amazon ECS's Service Connect. So this is the inbuilt service mesh we have inside of ECS.
Yeah.
So even if you're not using load balancers between your services and you're using Service Connect, you can do blue-green deployments and you can flip traffic between the two different versions.
That's sweet.
We have this concept called lifecycle hooks.
Lifecycle hooks. I wanted to say it first. You beat me. These are super cool. I'm super excited about this, but I'm still in your thunder. Go ahead.
No. So lifecycle hooks are awesome. They're a way for us to extend the deployment pipeline. Mm-hmm. And what that means is that at different stages when green's being deployed, or when traffic is shifting over, or maybe when green is now serving production traffic, but you want to verify it. You want to run some test suites. You want to check some CloudWatch metrics. We have this framework that we're calling lifecycle hooks. That is where ECS invokes a Lambda function. And in that Lambda function, you can write whatever you want to do whatever you want. But if the Lambda function fails, or it passes back a failed status to ECS, we will instantly roll back your deployment. And these hooks are great, and we're going to do some demos of those in a little bit.
All righty. So I'm going to give you a heads up. For reasons I do not know, my internet just kind of crashed and went down and came back up. So we're good at the moment, but yeah. So all right, we're good. I apologize for that little panic there. Hopefully you introduce lifecycle hooks. I'm really excited that y'all use a Lambda function in your lifecycle hooks. I'm just saying, you're welcome.
Yeah. So no, it's all good, Eric. I didn't even notice I was rambling away on
hooks. Good. I should have been quiet. Yeah.
Yeah. So as Eric said, these are Lambda functions. The control plane executes them. They're synchronous, so the whole deployment pipeline waits for the response of the Lambda. The Lambda can return 3 different statuses, and you'll see that in the demo. It can return a succeeded, which means great, the deployment can continue. It can return a failed, which means the deployment rolls back, and we roll right back to whatever the blue was. Or it can return an in progress. And if you return an in progress, what that means is we'll execute that again in a short amount of time. And the default is 30 seconds. So maybe you're waiting for some CloudWatch metrics to come in. Maybe you're waiting for a test suite to run. What you can do is you can fire off this Lambda, say, what's the state of the metrics? If it's not what you want it to, okay, keep the pipeline paused, wait for some more maybe tests to run, maybe some more test simulation traffic to happen, and then run the Lambda again. And you can have this really nice function. You can loop these Lambdas. You can poll things for hours before production traffic moves, or to validate that production traffic has moved successfusly. And at any time while these hooks are going on, you can roll back instantly using those using lifecycle hooks. And as part of this release, we've actually extended the full deployment pipeline now inside of ECS. So before, you just kind of saw that a deployment was in progress and then an deployment has succeeded or failed. Now, inside of the ECS console, inside of the API, you can see these whole other stages that happen with blue-green. And so some of the big ones on here, you can see we have this concept called scale-up. And scale-up is when we deploy the green tasks. So that's where blue is running, and we deploy those green versions. We have an event called test traffic shift, and this is where we move the test listener from the blue tasks to the green tasks. We then have the prod listener shift, self-explanatory, where the prod listener goes. And then we have this concept called bake time. And that's where the green tasks are serving production traffic, but the blue tasks are still there for an instant rollback if something goes wrong. And you can then see multiple times in this diagram where we call out to the Lambda functions, where you can extend your deployment pipeline. You can put in all sorts of weird and wonderful steps. And you remember, you can do whatever you want in that Lambda. You can write it whatever programming language you want. As long as they return that hook status, we'll know what to do in the deployment pipeline. All right. Eric has disappeared. I'm going to jump straight to the demo, and we'll see when he comes back. So I'm switching now over to my demo. Let's have a look and see what's going on. This is me in the ECS console. I have a service running called Blue-Green Demo. The service has one task behind the scenes. And if I look at the networking side, this is connected to a load balancer. And you can see that I have production traffic on port 80 and test traffic on 8080. These are, if I look in the load balancer itself, these are kind of a production listener and a test listener. If you want to know what's running, it's our retail demo app that we use in a lot of the container workshops and container demos here at AWS. And it's just a little sample retail store. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to actually try and update this service, and we're going to update it, and we're going to see how blue-green works, and we're going to see how Lifecycle hooks can do lots of interesting things to validate our deployment. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at a hook that runs here at a pre-scale-up stage. And you're probably wondering, like, why? What, you back? You good?
Well, we'll see. I'm not kidding. I'm literally tethered to my phone. That's what I'm doing at the moment. I don't know what's going on with my internet, which is rock solid 110% of the time. So, yeah.
So all those excitement around ECS.
But you're talking lifestyle hooks.
Yes,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Burn it down. So,
all right. So in this part of the demo, we're going to look at first one we're going to do is a pre-scale-up hook. And you're probably wondering, like, why do you need to run a Lambda before the deployment pipeline has really started? And this is actually a really exciting hook for us because it enables you to do a form of admission. It allows you to actually, like, inspect what's about to be deployed before it gets deployed. And so there's lots of reasons maybe you want to do that. Maybe you want to check against policies or governance, or maybe you want to maybe even check container image signatures. There's lots of interesting things you can do at this admission stage before anything has been deployed. It's actually been quite a common ask. Sorry.
Okay. I was just kidding. No, it's all right. If you wanted to do that before, that had to be custom done, or you had to run it locally, or you couldn't really run it in environment, could you?
No, so if you wanted to do a level of admission on ECS or some sort of like policy, it always had to be done after a task has been scheduled. Like what would happen is a task would get scheduled, it triggers an event, and then we have seen people then like inspect your task definition after the fact. Whereas
You
now
would hand roll that though.
with this prescale hook, we can do it before a workload has been scheduled. And the interesting thing is lifecycle hooks aren't just for blue-green. In that first slide I showed, I talked about like a rolling update, which is like the traditional way to use the ECS deployment controller. You can use this prescaler hook on both blue-green deployments and on rolling deployments. It's the only one. It's a special hook. So let's see it in actions. So I'll switch over to actually I'll show you what's in the console. So this is my I have one deployment so far. Let's look at the configuration. I have blue-green enables my deployment strategy, and I have two lifecycle hooks. And the first one there is that pre-scale-up hook. So you can define these when you create a service. You can define these when you update a service. If you want to see what they look like in the actual JSON spec, they're just down here. You can see that I have a target Lambda function. I have a role, which is what the control plane used to execute that function. And then I tell it at what stage do I want it to run.
That's
so
cool.
The first one I wanted, first to kind of prove that it does something, I'm just going to change my task definition. And instead of pulling from Amazon ECR, I'm going to change it just to pull an Nginx latest. And let me see how that goes. And so if what I'm going to do, I'm going to register this task definition. I have some cheat commands ready to go.
You don't do this by hand? I do it all by memory.
Afraid not.
This is embarrassing. I'm not going to lie.
So I'm going to register that, update my service. And what that should do is if I go back to the console real quick and refresh, you should see that I now have a new ongoing deployment. Yeah. It's in progress. And go to quick refresh. You can see that it's now in a deployment stage, pre-scale up. And this one should fail pretty instantly. Because remember, I have that some logic defined to see, is my container image from ECR or not? If I actually show you what that Lambda looks like, it's really, really simple. It's admission, and it's some Python logic, and it basically says, validate the container image. I can zoom in a bit. If it's from private or public ECR, return true. If not, valid image is false. So that's exactly what happened here.
What's a classic use for this? I'm curious, and maybe I don't mean to throw you in the bus here if you weren't ready for this, but what's the ask on this? I mean, I see huge value. That's all I'm saying. But I'm curious of what like some of the primary things people do with this.
Yeah, it's really around enforcing policies inside of an organization for this particular prescale hook. And remember, this has got nothing necessarily to do with blue-green deployments and like safely releasing software. This is just a way that we can use this hook framework that we've got and use it for lots of interesting things. But this prescale hook in particular, I think is going to be used a lot by customers that want to enforce governance. Let's say they want to do what I've just done. They want to make sure every container image comes from ECR, or they want to make sure that every container image has a certain logging driver configured, or whatever policy they want. They can now create this hook, put it in all of their deployments, and now they know like
they can enforce like ARM over x86 or different things like that. So
there's lots of different ways you can do that enforcement. Some people do it in IAM context keys. Some people do it elsewhere. But the fact that you can now do it as part of the deployment pipeline within ECS is super powerful.
That's super cool. Yeah, super.
And like so if I just refresh, where am I? Admission. Yeah, that was the one that ran. Yeah, you can see that it validated image Nginx, and it's not from an ECR registry. And if I look at the code, what that means is I return a hook status failed. That crashes the pipeline. Well, crashes the pipeline's not the right phrase, but fails the pipeline, and so we roll back.
Okay. We try not to say crash if we can help it. Oh, that'd be great. So you have a question coming in. I'm going to want to handle it before we leave this context. It says, can we not integrate Kyverno OPA policies with ECS? EKS has it.
Yeah, this is the exact place to put it in. So
okay.
This is like you can write Kyverno policies and use Kyverno policies inside these lambdas. Remember, you can write whatever you want in here. This is just a lambda function as long as it returns a status. So I've seen examples of people doing like OPA, Open Policy Agent stuff for ECS, but it's always ran after the workload has started. Now you can do it before the workload has started. That's that subtle difference.
Got it. Great question. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really good question. So I'm just going to quickly grab that container image. So and then undo, and we're then going to have a look at the next hook in as a demo. So let's re-update my task definition. And
it's irritating that even your copy and paste is faster than mine. So just throwing that out there. I was giving you a hard time earlier, but we both know that I copy and paste everything. So and you do it better. So thanks for that. I appreciate that.
Well, you say that. I'm currently having problems with
well, I wasn't going to highlight that, but yeah, I was stalling for you.
Thank you very much. So the next one we're going to do is I'm going to take a look at an approval function. And now this is going to run at this step of the deployment pipeline. And I think this is also a really interesting place. And I actually think where this is going, where a lot of people are going to be putting in their custom logic. So at this part of a deployment pipeline, what would have happened? Well, we would have deployed the green tasks.
Right.
We would have moved over the test listeners. So the test listener and the test traffic is now pointing at green, but production hasn't moved yet. And so I think this is a really interesting place. And I think there's going to be lots of hooks that people are going to write. And the one that we're going to take a look at now is a really quite simple one. And it's where I've just put in a manual approval step.
Okay.
Because if you don't have a hook and you don't stop it in any way, ECS is just going to work through all of those stages linearly. That's kind of what you want, like hands off deployment.
Right, just boom. Yeah.
Work through them all. But there may be reasons that you want to stop the deployment pipeline, take a look at things. I see maybe it's to run test suites, maybe it's to look at CloudWatch metrics. But in my demo, I'm going to put a bit of a manual approval step in there. So let's get that out. Let's start my deployment. So go back here, and I'm going to copy all of those in one hit, and that should be good to go.
Some bass foo, my friend. Even though you use Vim, is that Vim? I'm saying you use Vim.
Yeah, that is Vim.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that with the HR later. Yeah.
So right, we're now back in the console. We've now got a new deployment going, and we're going to hopefully get past our pre-scale up phase at this point because we're using a container range from ECR.
And scale up, yeah.
Boom, yeah, we moved on to scale up. That goes to the next one. And you can see down below that I have the next stop is going to be the post-test traffic stage. It's going to work its way through. You can see we're spinning up a task behind the scenes. You can even validate that the admission function did its job. I can have a quick look in here and have a look. And where have we got? Yeah, this image is from an ECR repository. Sending hook status succeeded back to ECS. Excellent. Yes. So that passed, and off it goes. So while this is going, sorry.
Yeah. Well, we have a question. Yeah. Okay. While this is going, if you've got a moment. Another question: How does Blue Green work with deployments with circuit breakers?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, absolutely. You can put in circuit breakers. They're like just down here. You can put in circuit breakers, or you can put in the CloudWatch alarms. Both of those are some of the awesome like native ECS functionality that we have that customers that were using the code deploy integration wanted to take advantage of, but just wasn't quite available for them. So yeah, you can turn on circuit breakers, and that exact logic will happen. So what would happen there is, instead of a hook returning a failed status and therefore making you roll back, what would happen is the circuit breaker will fail. And a circuit breaker it like gets flipped if new tasks start to fail. So let's say the green ones start getting deployed and they start to fail their health checks.
Those are the tasks themselves, not the code inside them.
Correct.
Well, I guess they're they can be tied to that, but yeah.
Yeah, it could be.
Ignorance right here.
Could be some bad code. Could be all sorts of reasons. But if the tasks start failing, you want something to stop the deployment. And like it would be in this scale up phase where the green tasks start failing, right? Could be where they start failing. They could fail later on, but that could be where commonly they're just not running. So this circuit breaker is something that's available in ECS to catch failing tasks of the new version and to trigger a rollback. And so that can absolutely work. And all you have to do is write circuit breaker enabled, or circuit breaker is true in your service definition, and you're good to go. You don't even have to write any code or write any hooks for your deployment pipelines. You can use that.
Would you say it's a best practice to go ahead and use that? I mean, is that one of those things you're like, you should just always turn that on, or is there some times when you shouldn't?
No, I think it is. I think it is a best practice to turn it on. Say the other alternative is these CloudWatch alarms, which is another safety mechanism we have in ECS, and that safety mechanism is where ECS will be looking at the state of a CloudWatch alarm, and so you could be alarming on like 500s on your load balancer or something like that, and if you start to get some 500s on your load balancer, that triggers a CloudWatch alarm that tells ECS something's not quite right with this deployment. Roll it back, and so that may be a good scenario of this bake time, like when production traffic is hitting your new version. Next thing you know, you start to get some 500s. CloudWatch alarm picks it up. Because Blue is still running at this time, you can flip back instantly.
Okay.
So yeah, but
and you can automate that with that flip back, right? With CloudWatch stuff.
Yeah. So both circuit breaking and CloudWatch alarms, there are some inbuilt safety mechanisms that already exist inside of ECS that are kind of like running in parallel to this hooks concept that we're talking about here.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right. So we've a quick refresh. Excellent. We're now at this post-test traffic stage, and hopefully this is now stopped our pipeline. So what you can see that I have two service revisions. So these are two different deployments, the blue one and the green one. So we're started here and we're going to there, and you can see that they're both running one task. Because we're at the test phase. If you remember, my load balancer had a test endpoint and a production endpoint. If I refresh the production endpoint, we're still good. We're still up. If I refresh the test endpoint, with a bit of luck, it should now be picking up the new version of my application. And there's a bit of a subtle difference between the two. You can see that I now have a green theme going on the test endpoint.
Nice.
So that's me having test listeners pointing at the green tasks. This is probably where you'll run your test suite. You'll probably do something a bit more sophisticated than I am, but this is just to kind of drill that home. And so the question may be, well, how have I paused the pipeline? Now, there's lots of different ways that you can do this. There's a whole host of ways that you could put a manual approval step. But if I go back to this project, and I will say this project is open source. You can go and take a look at my samples. There's nothing,
I'll share that out.
Yeah, there's nothing too scary in here. I have an approval function. And my approval function is, what is it doing? It is checking if a file exists in S3. Simple as that. Check S3 file. If a file exists in S3, it returns a true. Returning a true sends back a hook succeeded. If the file, sorry, go for it.
Sorry. No, you go ahead. Well, all right, I'm going to interrupt you. I'm a Lambda guy. I've been building service for a long time. Are you telling me that this Lambda is up and running? It's still up and running right now. Are we running a Lambda function for upwards of 10 to 15 minutes?
No, sir. So these are synchronous Lambdas. And so when this runs, and if the file does not exist, we return that in progress status. So right at the top, I have in Python here, hook status in progress. Try me again in 30 seconds. So now, like this manual approval step could take days. I don't know what goes on inside your organization, but like it can go on longer than the execution time of a single Lambda. And this is one of the big differences between how we've done the integration in ECS versus the previous blue, green, and code deploy, is that you can have these, like you can pause at this particular lifecycle stage, just running these hooks for a long period of time, longer than the execution time of a single Lambda.
That's great. So I could say, look, check every 15 minutes. I want you to check. And so I would it's a quick bleep. It probably must have fallen under a free tier. Very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you don't specify the callback time, we'll default to 30 seconds. Like that's the default. But if you specify this callback time, you can, as you say, put 10 minutes in there, an hour in there, whatever it may be. And you can then like poll external things. And this is where I said, like, you could put some polling logic in. Maybe you're checking on a CloudWatch metric. Maybe you're even checking on like a step function that's got your full test suite in there, or whatever it may be.
Well done. I like you said that. Yeah, you're making points.
So like if I go and check the logs of this, so this is the approval function log group, and I give this a quick refresh. Click on some of these. You can see here, what do I have? So 30-second intervals. So one was at 36:11, the next was at 36:44. So therefore you can see that I'm running every 30 seconds. What happens? Checking if the file exists. The file does not exist. Return the in progress. Wait 30 seconds, go again. This is just a simple polling logic. I'm sure people can write more sophisticated approval steps than I have.
Sure.
But it's just a way that I can stop the deployment pipeline and poke around.
So you can conceivably, so this stops, so it sends, and the Lambda function, sorry, Chris Munns, I still freaked out about that. The Lambda function could send out, or somewhere you can send an email to those in Power. And in the email, it has an approval or decline, right? If I approve it, maybe it writes it into a DynamoDB database, or it writes your file to the S3 or something, and then your hook catches that.
Yeah, like there's a higher level conversation around like, should you have this approval step in between, like deploying to production, like between deploying to test and deploying to production, or should you have this approval step between blue green? Like some people I chat to say this is cool for a demo, but realistically, once we deploy to production, it's in production. But it's the point. The point of this demo is the point of this demo is to show that it's possible that like this is a way that you could put it in.
Sure. Gives you the options.
Yeah. So then if I go back to my cheat sheet and have a look, I have the magic commands to put a file in S3. And my logic is I've named it after the revision. So I just grab the service revision from ECS and paste that as a file name. You can see here. And then I put that in an S3 bucket. So we'll copy that and put that in there. All right, that should now, and I don't know where we were on the 30-second loop, but that should now trigger the next stage in my deployment pipeline.
Dale, I'm going to interrupt you again. Do you remember earlier when I dropped off the face of the planet for a few minutes?
Yes,
All
sir.
the links you sent me are gone. So can you give me that link again? I have people asking for this repo.
Yeah.
So man, I'd like you to report back to Cy that I have actually dropped the ball on today's presentation. And I apologize to our viewers and the viewers in the future. So
Hey,
great.
we're
Thanks,
a
buddy. I
data-driven
appreciate
company.
it.
We'll see how you do in your
That's right.
surveys here.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. So just for everybody, I'll be dropping these in. I'll be dropping these links in as you need them. But this is the GitHub repo right here. So.
All right, and then we look at the pipeline. Production traffic is shifting. We're on to the next stage. Off we go, and we're changing the we're moving our way through the deployment pipeline. While that's waiting to finish up, is there any other questions that have come in?
I haven't seen any other come in, but so I have a question. Can you go back to the cycles or the life cycles on the screen? I can't believe I'm asking you to bring up this. So all right. So
you want this? You want the slides again? I can give you the slides.
Yeah, I know. I'm embarrassed. I've already dropped the ball on this one, so it's all for naught now. I probably delete this when we're done. But so you have post scale up. I get that test traffic shift. All right. So after the test traffic shift, what would you run in that Lambda? Would you run tests against the traffic, the green code?
Yeah, so I would say you'd run traffic against the green code at this post stage, because at the post stage, the traffic has shifted. But maybe
gotcha.
You wanted to notify somebody or something that the traffic shift is taking place.
Gotcha. That's what I want to make sure. Okay. So the Lambda function can send that. Okay, and then production traffic shift. So what these are? So I'm going to kind of go through these and say what I think they are, and you tell me. So pre-scale up means, hey, we're getting ready to scale up, right? Scale up means there's no hook there, obviously. We're doing that. And then post scale up, we're scaled up. That's the event trigger, right? And then we're getting ready to do the traffic shift for test. That's the Lambda. So it's pre that shift, right? And then you have the post traffic shift hook as well. So you basically sandwich the traffic shift.
Yeah, and I would actually clarify that this test traffic shift is optional. You don't have to. If you don't have a test listener on your load balancer,
gotcha.
That's absolutely fine. We won't do it. The way that we actually have implemented this. So if I take a look at the service definition again, so some things here. The target group is in theory the blue target group. What you then do is you put in the green target group, you put in the production listener rule rather, and a test listener rule. And this one is optional. You don't have to if you don't want to. In my demo, I did, but maybe in your environment you don't. And then you pass in a role which is giving the ECS control plane the powers to manipulate these listener rules on your behalf. And if I have a look at how that's actually been implemented behind the scenes, you can see that I have these two listeners and the rules that are going to flip between the two target groups.
Okay. Yeah.
It's worth mentioning at this time, and maybe we'll get there in the demo. The way that ECS blue-green works today, it is all at once. We will flip 100% of the traffic from green to blue, and then back again on the next release.
But what if I want to do a Canary?
So that's something we're working on.
And setting you up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's something we're working on to actually do granular traffic shifts.
Okay.
And that's where you can do like maybe percentages, 10%, 20% at a time.
Okay.
That is something we're working on. I will say, since we've released this, I've had a lot of people ping me, or when I've had customer conversations, they've said, well, how can I do it today? And because of how flexible lifecycle hooks are, if you wanted to do it today, you can do, but you write the logic yourself in a Lambda function. And so that's what I've done. So inside of this samples repo as well, inside of here, you'll find that there's a Canary function. And the Canary function is something that I would actually expect to run at this stage as well. I'd run it at the post-test traffic stage. And what we do is we can go in here and we can just manually, let me scroll down to the interesting piece. We can manually adjust the target group weights of our production listener. So at this stage, ECS is going to flip 100% to the other side. Well, what happens if at this stage we beat ECS to it and gradually shift it over traffic? And that's what I've written here in my demo. It's a quick Lambda function that in theory just adjusts the weight itself. In the demo, it adjusts them by 20% increments every 30 seconds. So what happens is we send 20% of the traffic to green. Right. We then send an in progress back. We say, ECS, call me again in a period of time. ECS will call me again in a few minutes. I'll now add another, and I'll now be doing 40%, 60%. So you can do granular traffic shifting in this post-test traffic shift. And then by the time we get to the production traffic shift, it's already there. It's a temporary workaround. We do want to do gradual traffic shifting really soon, but until you get there, if you want to do it, you can do it in the hooks.
So this is cool because in the Lambda function, you can just put those two environment variables in. What percentage and how long should I wait? 20% every 5 minutes, and you can reuse that Lambda all over the place for your deployments. We do have 2 questions that came in, and I want to bounce these on you real quick. I know we're doing okay on time, but we got about 10-minute warning. Can we use cron with ECS to simplify the use of Lambda?
Cron is in the event scheduler?
Yeah, I think maybe it could be, I don't have a clarification, but I was thinking either the event scheduler or cron syntax, maybe.
Okay. So not related to deployments and deployment hooks, you can use CloudWatch events, which is, and you can use like scheduled events to run tasks on a schedule. So if that's most commonly where I come across people that are like migrating workloads to ECS, and they say, hey, we've got all of the, like we have a big cron D that runs scripts at certain times. You can run containers at certain times using Event Bridge Scheduler and ECS. But in this context,
in fact,
oh no, okay.
Sorry, no, hang on. In fact, I'll be talking about this at reInvent. These are what I call event-based containers, or event-driven containers, depending on how you want to look at that. But event-based containers, and I'll be talking about that at reInvent. So check out my talk there. We have another question. You got time? Do you have time for a question? Okay, great. The second question is: once the bake time has ended, can we still roll back?
So the answer is no. So what happens, and you may actually have seen it here, is we're in the bake time. After the bake time is finished, ECS will go away and clean up whatever was the blue in the source service revision, and you can see that's happened if I refresh. It's happened. The source has got no running tasks. It's just cleaned it all up, and that's done. So you can't necessarily roll back at this time. I will say you can see exactly what you deployed. We have these service revision like specifications here, so you can see exactly what task definition and its network configuration and everything else here. This was one of the big things we did actually last year, is that we released these service revisions. We made them available in the console. And this is where you can see a list of previous deployments that you have done. And this was like one of the feature requests that we had, is people wanted to know, hey, what was the specification of my service 5 releases ago, 30 days ago, whatever it may be. And so we released this concept of service revision, which is that point in time specification. and you can click in on them and get them from the API. But unfortunately, once bake time is finished, it's cleaned up. It's done.
So the trick is to set your bake time longer than your test time. Yeah, I mean, well, I guess your test time even before your bake time hits, but set your bake time appropriately that you can make sure it's what you want.
Yeah, the only trade-off there is on the bake time side is a cost and a capacity consideration. Obviously, when that bake time is running, you're going to have the blue tasks and the green tasks running side by side. You're paying for both sets. If you're using the EC2 launch type, you may not have capacity in your cluster to have blue and green running for a long period of time. Fargate, maybe that's less of a concern because you're not necessarily managing capacity that way, but you're still paying for blue to be around. So you might not want to have blue around for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, that was it on the questions for now.
Got it. Yeah, so that was the end of the demo. So you saw the approval function work. So you can see how that ended. We should have a quick look in here. There should be a final lambda that said check if the file exists. The file exists in the bucket, and send succeeded back. And when you send that succeeded back, we were then able to move on to the next stage. You should also have seen that there was a bake time a minute ago, and that's what me and Eric were just talking about, where blue was running and it's available. Some of the other things I do want to highlight, and as part of this release. So one of the questions people asked us is like, how can we get to blue-green deployments? We've made the deployment strategy field and the deployment controller mutable. And so what that means is when you update a service now, you can go in here and you can flip between the two. So you don't have to create a new service if you want to move from rolling to blue-green. You can just update that in place. Obviously, when you do, you may have to put in some additional networking parameters, so like the green target group, and pass the role in for ECS to do it. But yeah, the field is there, so you don't necessarily have to recreate your services if you don't want to. And the same works as well if you're coming at it from code deploy. So if you have an existing service today that's on code deploy and you want to migrate it to ECS's native blue-green, you can do the same. You can update that service in place. There's a few prerequisites that you have to meet. They're in the documentation around what deployment strategy you have on code deploy and things like that. But you don't have to create it from scratch, and you can just service by service go through and make the switch to the native blue-green.
All right, I'm posting the documentation right now. We have a few minutes left. I know you probably have some more stuff you can show, but while I do that, I'll ask if anybody else has any other questions. We've had some great questions coming in. There's obviously a lot to consume here. Super powerful service. Like I said, I have a video that hopefully will come out in a little bit, but I got to dig in and play around with this, ask Holly all kinds of questions. Call him in the middle of the night. He loved it. It was good. It was good for him. It was good for characters. So, but yeah, if you have any questions, now's the time to ask while we have the expert online.
Yeah. So just yeah, that video was good fun. So as a few of the things I did call out. So we do support services behind application load balancers, behind network load balancers, and behind Service Connect. And so actually inside of this repo, you can see a pattern for Service Connect, and we're going to have a blog on the topic come out really soon. And one of the interesting things that you have with the Service Connect side, actually they may actually have it in the diagram here. Yeah, they do. Is that because in Service Connect there isn't a concept of listeners, the way that we route traffic between blue and the green, especially in that test phase, is through headers. So you can send a test header to this, and like that tells the proxy, whether to send traffic to the production blue or the test green. And there's lots of interesting ways that you can then use Service Connect and Blue Green at the same time.
Nice. If you're in America, when Ollie said route, that was actually route, just to help you out. We do have another question that came in. Is the ECS Blue Green supported by Code Pipeline?
Good question. So so today it is, but it's only through a custom action. We are working with the Code Pipeline team to have a native action, but today it's a custom action. A few other things that I have tested on that Trailer 4, the GitHub action works today with Blue Green. So if you are using the GitHub action, you can to deploy to ECS, it works with Blue Green services. But yeah, the code pipeline, you have to use a custom action today, and we're working with that team to have a first class action.
All right. Well, with that, do you have any shameless plugs you'd like to throw out coming up?
What do I have? Not too much, I don't think. I think we've got a load of blogs coming out on Blue Green, so keep your eye out on the AWS Containers blog channel. We have a number of interesting Blue Green examples to come out in the next week or two, but not much apart from that.
I've got an instructional video coming out, and in this video, I am actually attempting to play 3 different characters. So it's going to be really interesting. I am green, I am blue, and I am a lambda, and I have to talk to myself. So we'll see how that works. We'll see how good the editors are, because I know my acting was horrible. We have another question here. This might be the last one we can squeeze in here, but let's see. So we have the question: Blue Green supports both DNS and HTTP endpoint for Service Connect.
Both DNS and HTTP endpoint for Service Connect. That's a good question. I definitely support. Well, I'd have to check on that one. I don't know. I'd have to check the documentation. I don't want to commit. I believe so, but because the way that Service Connect works is it's all done on those sidecar proxies, and the sidecar proxies are routing traffic to the different versions. But the test endpoint is not a separate green DNS name. It is the same HTTP endpoint, but with a test header. But there is Service Connect documentation to go into exactly how that works, and an exciting blog.
Yeah, nice. Well, and if you come up with something like that, a quick answer, feel free to send it to me and watch my Twitter or my LinkedIn, and I'll post those as well if we don't have an answer here. So, all right. With that, we're getting ready to wrap it up. So Containers on the Couch, obviously this is an ongoing weekly series. I encourage you to check it out. We do EKS, we do ECS. What am I missing, Ollie? Anything else?
That and some interesting partner integrations as well.
That's right. But I'm going to do a shameless plug. If you happen to be in Bangalore, India on August 8th, look for serverless. We're actually doing Go-To Serverless, where we'll actually be talking about some containers there as well. So I'll post that link here real quick. We'd love to have you. It's on the 8th. It's an all-day event. We're bringing in the director of serverless. He's going to be giving a keynote. All kinds of speakers. We're going to be talking about event-driven architecture, Gen AI, serverless, and from experts who do this on a daily basis. So I encourage you to check that out. Let me post this link real quick. Ollie, I was going to say thanks for having, I'm glad to have you, but really it's thanks for having me. You're the regular here. I'm the guest host. And so thanks for letting me do this with you. Thanks for putting up with me. I really appreciate it.
No problem. It's been great.
All right. With that, I'm going to send us out. Everybody have a great weekend. And I know it's Thursday, but some of you might be late to early Friday. So we'll see you later.